Hey, so today we're going to be doing a little video about key bindings in Planetside 2. Um, Daybreak Games, or I guess now Rogue Planet Games, they've never added in the ability to use keybinds with modifiers. Modifiers being Control, Alt, Shift, plus a button. Um, and I don't know why they've never added this. You know, maybe it was an oversight. Maybe it was because they were thinking about doing cross-play and they didn't want like PC to have this weird advantage over PS4. But it's pretty standard in a lot of games, and it kind of drives me crazy that it's not in here. Like, anyone that's rated in WoW, I'm sure they have some ridiculous Control Shift Alt S to use an ability. But here's what I mean. So, all right, I want to bind Squad Leader voice chat to Shift Numpad 3. And instead, I just get this error message like I'm trying to steal left shift from this sprint or hold breath keybind. And that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to use shift in combination with another key. And I know numpad sucks. I have a gaming mouse that like replicates my numpad keys right now. So I did find a way to do this. I got super frustrated today and played around with some stuff and figured out how to do this. But it is against the terms of service because you have to go and modify some game files. So will I get banned for this? Yeah, probably. But there's always that off chance that Rogue Planet will be like, oh, well, this is a function that should probably be in here. We won't ban this guy, and we'll just make this easier to do. Um, anyway, that's the hope. And it is simple. You're gonna see this, and it's really just down to some configuration files that they don't allow to occur. So, all right, let's start by taking a look in the Planetside 2 install directory. I have a shortcut in this research folder I did, but if you go to your normal Planetside 2 icons, hit properties, open file location, it takes you there. So there's two files we care about in here, and they are input profile default.xml and input profile user.xml. So we're going to open up default because that's the first one we care about. Here it is in Internet Explorer, but I'm actually going to do this in Notepad++, which is a great program, for any kind of scripting or config file editing. Highly recommended. There's no GUI, obviously, so hopefully you're good at staring at blocks of text. But mostly what we care about in here is this tag on every keybind. So each of these sections, this is action, and then a trigger, and then an action. That's a keybind. And they all have this ignore modifiers true. Well, I say all of them, but that's not entirely true, right? Like toggle HUD indicators does not have it. And you can actually see it because it's Control I. So what ignore modifiers true does is it makes it ignore Shift, Alt, and Control as modifiers. If you try and do it, it makes it think that you're actually trying to use that button to perform that function. And that is really not what we want. So you could probably delete it. Again, some of the default ones come like this, but what I did is I went through and I changed a bunch of them to false. There are some you want to keep true. A lot of the ones that already have a control option, obviously, things like sprint, hold breath, afterburners. If you set those to ignore modifiers false, they won't function right. They'll if you try to keep it as shift for sprint, for example, it just goes away. Like the keybind is blank and it thinks you're only trying to use shift as a modifier now. So be aware when you're configuring this XML file for yourself. So what this one does, in addition to having all these tags, is it stores the default keybinds. If you go to the keybind page in game and hit restore defaults, it loads from here. There are other tags, unbindable true. You probably don't want to mess with those. Name, display name, those are pretty straightforward. There's some in like the categories that I don't really want to mess with. Yeah, so that's the first one. I'm not going to save it. And the second one holds your keybinds, as they are for your profile. So whatever you set in game, it actually will configure this, in the file structure. So the one we really care about is input profile defaults. And what I did is I copied it from here. I went through and I did a find replace thing in Notepad++, part of the reason I love it so much, right? You can actually see my settings are still in here. And I set these all to false so that I'll be able to modify them in game. So here's what you do. You have to launch the game through the launcher. And what I'm about to show you, the order matters a lot. Because when the game starts, it runs a check against its file structure, and it makes sure that all the files that it wants to check against are, set appropriately. So it doesn't actually let you modify use input profile default. It doesn't check against input profile user, but user doesn't let us change any of the tags that we care about. So once it's loaded, once this green bar goes through, that's the check. We want to go back to, well, firstly we want to copy, and you want to go to here, and you want to paste it. And because those tags are now set to ignore modifiers false, when we launch the game, it'll load the XML we put in there. Now you can also do input profile user, and I did because I just kind of backed up the keybinds how I actually want them to there. Because if you get a version of input profile default that doesn't allow for modifiers, it'll override everything that's in user. So to make it easier, I just back it up. I actually even made a little batch file that does this automatically. Like, it'll launch it, and then once it logs in, if ever, I think it's mad at me because I've been doing this so much today. And it's probably like, this guy's a elite hacksaws. I'm not. I'm barely a script kiddie. All right, cool. So that did its thing, and then I press a button, and it does that, and then actually copy that stuff over in the background. So now we log in. Slow as balls. I do have PS2 on an SSD, so I don't know. Maybe my computer just sucks. And I don't have video editing software, and I kind of suck at it, so I'll just try and remember to put, in the timestamp where these loads finish. No promises. I don't want your bundle because this is a throwaway account. Settings, key binding, and now should be able to do Shift Y. I don't get the stupid pop-up thing. And this also loaded, everything I wanted from that user XML file. I can do Shift 3, Shift 0. Well, maybe it should be Shift 2. Yeah, that's it. I don't recommend actually trying this because, like I said, it's modifying game files, and who knows if you're gonna get banned or not. But hopefully, like I said, realizing how pretty simple this is, Rogue Planet games will actually, support this functionality. Like I said, it's in a lot of other titles, and I don't really know why they didn't do it. I'm sure they had the reasons, but they should really look at implementing this. So give it a shot if you want, but do so at your own risk. Thanks.